The following is a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.
Drivers, start your engines. Pull those belts down tight one more time, warm up those tires, hit your marks, and let's go racing, boys and girls. NASCAR, Indycar, Formula One, Formula E, and NHRA Racing Talk. This is the Championship Racing Network. Now here is your host.
Sitting in for Steve West this morning. He's a superstar. He's up top this morning. So I'm having to fill in here for him.
Well, 1 out of 3 ain't bad.
That's right. And of course, this is not going to be your normal Championship Racing Network show. This is going to be a bit of a hybrid. This is a Talladega edition of Championship Racing
A very
Network.
hybrid Talladega edition.
Yes, it is. All NASCAR, all the time.
That's
and
right.
ARCA. So
That's right.
We're going to have that. A lot going on this morning. We got my morning show partner, JP, sitting over here for a few minutes with us. He wandered in off the street. And,
I'm here strictly for decoration.
Strictly for decoration.
you know, I'm glad to know that Christmas decorations don't look like that. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm telling you what.
That would be rough. We have got a busy show this morning. Russell Branham here at the Super Speedway has been a busy man, and he's got us a lineup this morning. We're going to be talking with drivers all morning long coming up this morning. We'll start things off with Rev Racing drivers Raja Caruth and Nick Sanchez from the ARCA Menards Series. We will be talking with someone from Toyota around 8:40 this morning. 9 a.m., it's Tony Bredinger from the ARCA Menards Series. And, Matt, we'll get into that in a minute, because it was not a great day for Tony yesterday in ARCA practice. Also at 9:20 a.m., Drew Dollar scheduled to join us here. Of course, he is a former ARCA Series winner here at the Talladega Super Speedway, and he's competing both in today's General Tire 200 for the ARCA Menards Series and the Ag Pro 300 for the NASCAR Xfinity Series later on this afternoon. And we'll wrap up our morning with Chandler Smith joining us on track or on track side here this morning. So big lineup as we get you set for a big day of racing action here at the Talladega Super Speedway. All of our live coverage this weekend from Talladega presented by Majestic Steel, also by Greenway, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram in Anniston, right there on the original Motor Mile, along with Oxford Lumber, your Ace Hardware dealer with locations in Oxford, Jacksonville, Talladega, and Roanoke. So today, triple header, if you will. That's what Brian was calling it, was triple header, because we got qualifying. We've got, for the NASCAR Cup Series, they'll set the field for tomorrow's Geico 500. We've got ARCA Menards Series action, which will be the General Tire 200, and we've got the NASCAR Xfinity Series Ag Pro 300 coming your way. Menards Series, ARCA Series at 12 noon, 2:30 the start time for MRN on the Xfinity Series this afternoon. So, busy day.
Yeah.
Very busy.
Matt, why don't you tell us right quick about your brother-in-law and how he's starting
that would be Brett Holmes.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be Brett. Yeah. He's on the grid starting 16th today, but as we know, most of us know, yesterday a couple of cars got in some incidents in practice. So that position is going to go up probably, I'm going to say 13th, 14th. So that's about where he started last spring here, and where everybody knows he had a very strong run. And coming to the green-white checker, the one-lap shootout, he was in position, but just he didn't have a drafting partner, and he was just a sitting duck. Right. So he feels pretty good about his shot today.
Yeah, he said he had a good, fast car. So I'm really looking forward to watching him.
Yeah, I spoke with him for a little bit, and he said, our drive's fine, car drive's okay. He said, we just got to play our cards right. I said, that's all you can do.
That's Talladega for you.
Yep, exactly right.
No question about that. He's got to be in the right place, right time. And when we talked with him earlier, he had talked about the fact he learned a lot by that deal last year. He got too far out in front, and then didn't block the right line. And that's a decision you're making in a thousandth of a second or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Which way do I go? Because you don't have any time out there.
Yeah, and you take that 1,000th of a second, you go the wrong direction. You're like, oh, there it went. See ya. We're done. Yeah. Adios.
You're drop kicked.
Yep.
Slapped to the back.
That's
or the middle anyway.
You're used to that, right?
Yeah, I'm used to it. I sure am.
Well, now, both of you were here trackside yesterday.
Matt,
I'm sure you were alert. I'm not sure about you, JP, but ARCA practice, you had some incidents. Talk a little bit about some of the incidents you saw. One of those involves a driver that we're going to talk to this morning. Hope she's in a good mood by this morning.
I hope so, too, because probably Well, Tony Brodinger, she got the group that went out that was Sean Core, Gus Dean, herself, and Corey Heim. They was in the tightest 4-car pack in all of the practice sessions. Everybody else got spread out in each of their respective groups. Well, simple, classic case of a bump draft gone wrong. Gus got a little bit loose, and then probably right here at the Geico logo that we're looking at coming into the tri-oval, broke loose and took what I would define as called a cannon shot into the wall. It echoed all the way down pit road, and everybody went, "Dear God, what was that?" And next thing you know, and let's see, all the Venturini team, I saw KBM guys and even GMS Racing guys helping put that backup car together yesterday in the garage area.
Now, that's pretty cool.
Yep.
It was probably 30 people swarming off of one car to the other, getting it prepared.
Well, that's good.
It was something else to see. Something to see.
You know, I remember one time. Do you remember back when all the controversy about bump drafting was going on?
Oh yeah.
And I was with Jeff Green. I asked him. I said, "Just how hard do you hit each other in that bump drafting?" He said, "You hit them hard as you can hit them. The problem is if they're running 196 and you're running 197, you can't hit them very hard."
Yeah, you're right. You're exactly right.
And as long as they got their wheels straight, it's fine. But if they're ever turning just a little bit, they're in the wall.
If it's turned the least fraction of a half an inch to one way or the other, that's all she wrote.
You're in the wall.
Yep, that's all she wrote.
How the cars look yesterday? They look stable in practice, or were they kind of unstable now, Matt?
The ARCA cars look fairly stable. I don't think we're going to have any today. Personally, I don't think we're going to have any craziness in the ARCA race. It's going to be a straightforward shootout race.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a good one.
That's one of the things about the ARCA Menards series. You know, the General Tire 200. You don't have a lot of time. I mean, you gotta go. You can't just sit back there and cruise around for a while. That's one thing in the ARCA series. You got to go because it's a short race. What is it?
76 laps.
76 laps now. So
but for as it's been for so many years, the discrepancy in the field with ARCA.
Yeah.
You've got on any given race, 10 to 15 very quick cars.
Yeah.
And then the other 10 to 20 that fill the field out are you could define as mediocre pace. And if you get hung in those mediocre pace cars, you're done.
Yeah.
And you're just scratching and clawing and praying for a caution.
Yeah. There's no doubt. So yeah, that's kind of the way it's been for years and years. And you're always going to have that. It's a development. A lot of these teams bring their drivers into ARCA. They get them some track time here at places like Talladega and Daytona, and they run such a variety of tracks. So you get some big name teams, the Joe Gibbs Racings, the Venturini Motorsports, and those guys are well funded and they bring some really good equipment to the track. And it shows.
I have seen ARCA races here that the pole was faster than the Cup pole was. And they are basically Cup cars, or old Cup cars.
Yeah, older Cup cars, yeah. I'm really interested to see when Cup cars qualify here after a while what the pole speed is. I'm really interested to see that.
Well, if it's based on Daytona, it's not going to be real high, and if that holds true.
Yeah.
The racing, though, was fantastic. So.
Oh, absolutely. No doubt about that. No doubt about that at all.
So, be interesting. I'll be interested to see how that compares to what the Xfinity Series pole speeds were yesterday.
Yeah.
And we'll need to run into the media center and get some lineups for you, because we've got the fields are set for the Xfinity Series. Jeffrey Earnhardt is on the pole for the Ag Pro 300 coming up later on this afternoon. So Jeffrey Earnhardt in a number 3 car for Richard Childress Racing on the pole at Talladega. Does it get a lot better than that?
No, it doesn't. And hey,
it doesn't.
I told John, I said, when they drop that green flag, I'm going to be over here. I want to see the crowd's reaction.
I do too. I'm interested to see that.
Yeah. It's going to be something else. And if he was to win that race or leading the last lap or two, they're going to go bonkers. No doubt.
Oh, yeah.
Me personally, this is arguably his best shot.
Yeah. I think
arguably his best shot.
Yeah. I think so. If he can just stay out of trouble.
Yeah, I'm talking about the Cup cars. I'm interested to see if they break the 182.56 that Jeffrey Earnhardt laid down yesterday.
Yeah.
And they may
that's a good point.
And I got, even though we talked a little bit yesterday that I did get to see him at Atlanta, yesterday was the first chance I've had to see him up close and really put a close eye on them. Them things are doggone tanks. They are wide. They're short, but they're wide. And I couldn't even talk. I'm like, man, this thing is so wide.
Is the body wider at the rear wheels than it is at the front wheels? It looks like it is.
If I had to say, Johnny, the front is actually wider than the rear, but
Really?
not by much.
Really?
I mean, you got to really look close to see it. It looks wider at the front than it does at the rear.
Interesting.
I can't wait to see them. I haven't seen them in person, so I'm
Yeah.
really looking forward to that this morning. Looking forward to hearing them on track. Looking forward to seeing them on track as that gets underway. 10 o'clock qualifying for the Geico 500. And, of course, we'll have that live for you. We'll hand off to MRN Radio this morning at 10 a.m. for that. Hey, just a quick side note. They're doing a lot of car washing right over here. Chad and Jason and them. How about running out there and get the mountain truck and bring it over there and see if they'll wash it out while they're doing that?
Well,
I mean, what would the more vehicle be?
I asked Chad, I said, Chad, really get down there and start scrubbing and let me get a picture of you. I may need it for blackmailing purposes later on.
They're doing a fine job, though.
You know what he said? You know what Chad had the nerve to say?
What did he say?
He said, well, if it comes from you, everybody's going to know it's not very credible.
I heard that too.
Can you believe he said that?
You know, JP, actually, I can.
Can you?
Yeah. And you just missed it. There was a plate of food, the big old plate of food that one of the White Flag Club guys just came by.
Come on.
Had aluminum foil on top of it, and he didn't
Yeah.
even slow down here.
He knew better than
And
to.
let me tell you, I know this is Matt's show, sort of. It's kind of, it's now taking it over today. It's my show.
Me and you took it over.
Yeah, we did. But, you know, Matt fits right in. I noticed as we were getting ready to go on the air, he was feverishly unwrapping a dang candy bar to try to eat it before he had to talk. It looked he fit right in.
Well, that's unlike us because we just go ahead and talk and eat
while
it.
we're at the same time. Yeah. We just chew and talk.
Yeah, that's right.
That's our jam right there.
That's right. That's right.
Well, we got a big show lined up for you. It'll be going on all day long here at Talladega Super Speedway. We're live with you until we hand off to MRN Radio at 10 a.m. this morning, and they'll have it the rest of the day as they'll get qualifying for the Geico 500. That's at 10. Then at 12 noon again, it is the ARCA Menard Series, the General Tire 200 for you. And then at 2:30 this afternoon, MRN again with the coverage for the Ag Pro 300 for the NASCAR Xfinity Series. You said that pole speed was 182.
182.56. Yep.
And correct me now. We have a nickname for Matt in this business.
Oh, do you?
We kind of call him Rain Man when it comes to stats and remembering
Oh,
figures
yeah.
and who did. All right. What was the pole speed for the Xfinity Series at Daytona? Was it comparable to that?
Very comparable. I think it was 180. It may have been high 181s, low 182.
And what was the Cup Series qualifying speed? Pole
I
speed?
think it was 180.
180.
180.
I remember it being slower.
Yeah, it was slower, but not by much.
Not by much. So,
Yeah.
be interesting to see what we get this afternoon here at the Talladega Super Speedway, or should I say this morning, because it'll start off first thing
That's
this morning.
right.
It's kind of hard to tell the difference betwing 180 and 182 miles an hour.
Oh, I
You
can tell it, buddy.
Oh, I can
Yeah,
too.
I bet you
spot it.
can.
Yeah, I put an eye on it, buddy. I can tell you right now.
Just like that Model T 25.
Well, I did miss the whole fact that the guy was walking instead of jogging.
Yeah, you kind of messed that up.
When he
Yeah.
passed him, yeah.
That's right.
Sure enough. All right, we're going to grab our first break of the morning. When we come back, we are set to be joined by our first guest of the morning, and that'll be some ARCA Series action coming up for you. If I can get back to my sheet here, my cheat phone. It's funny how everything used to have a cheat sheet. Now you got a cheat phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rev Racing drivers Raja Caruth and Nick Sanchez are scheduled to join us from the ARCA Menard Series. I'm Grady Sepp alongside Matt Nicholson. It is Championship Racing Network. The hybrid version live from the Talladega Super Speedway. Our continuing
right.
coverage here this weekend brought to you by Majestic Steel, Greenway, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram on the Motor Mile, the original Motor Mile in Anniston, along with Oxford Lumber, your Ace Hardware dealer. 4 locations to serve you in Oxford, Jacksonville, Talladega, and Roanoke. Beautiful morning.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic morning.
And you know what? The weather's going to stay just like this all weekend long.
It's actually nice to come out here to Talladega and not have a worry about rain.
It is.
Because it seems like it's been that way for the past 3 or 4 races now.
It has been. It seems like we've had an issue with it. And also, if you think about it, really, I was talking with some folks on Thursday afternoon, and I mentioned this yesterday, but they were talking about, oh, man, what a great weekend of weather. And I said, well, you better be glad you didn't come in. This wasn't on one of the weekends in the past month, because the weather's been terrible every weekend.
Yeah.
They said, you're kidding. And I was
yeah.
like, no, it's rained every single weekend.
Yeah, it is. It seems like really every single weekend and every single Wednesday. for the past 3 or 4 weeks. It's like, what was going to rain?
Well, we got the DW Vortex going this weekend,
That's right.
and we're getting the cars on the track, and of course we don't even need the Vortex this weekend because there is absolutely no threat of rain. So it's going to be a fantastic weekend.
That's right.
If you haven't bought your tickets and you're not down here, what are you waiting on? There's still tickets available to come on down to Talladega and come out and take in the races. All right, we got 3 of them to choose from this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is going to be? All right, if you're going to sit here and make a prediction,
Yeah.
all right, what do you think? Which one do you think is going to be the most exciting?
I would be crazy to go against the Cup race tomorrow.
I would agree with that.
I'd be crazy to go against the Cup race. Now, the Xfinity race later on this afternoon, we know it's characteristically always an exciting race.
Yeah.
But with the new cars tomorrow, you'd be a fool to not bet against those.
Yeah. I think the excitement level over seeing the new cars,
Right.
I think people are really amped up for qualifying today. I think you're going to see a big crowd here because you get to see these cars. You've heard so much about them. I'm curious about them. I'm envious of you because you were around long enough yesterday to go down and see them.
Yep.
I was not. I had to get back and actually work, Matt. I had to go back and work.
Well, I got all my stuff took care of by Thursday, and I was like, hey, I'm good to go.
I don't think I can get all my stuff taken care of. I swear. So I'm excited to get down there. I want to get down as soon as we wrap up the broadcast. I mean, I'm ready to shoot down to that garage area, to the Big Bills area, the garage experience, and kind of have a look. I want to get a good, close look at them and looking forward to see them on the track. And I think a lot of folks are feeling that way this weekend.
Right. Yeah. The first chance that I took to get in there, I walked straight in there to look. And I wanted to get every up-close look that I could at each model manufacturer, the Camaro, the Mustang, and the Camry, and see what the differences are that you could visit outside of just the regular nose piece, what other little technologies and variances they put into the car to give it that main identity. And you can see quite a few if you look real close, especially on the hood louvers.
Really?
That lets the air out.
Let's see. Okay.
The Toyotas is higher. The Fords are higher. Chevrolets are inset. It caught my eye quick. That was one of the first things I caught.
I'm going to be interested to see at this track, as dominant as Ford has been here. Are they going to be dominant this weekend at this track? You know, they won Daytona already. You've already seen the Fords perform really well at Daytona. Are they going to continue that trend here at Talladega this weekend?
I would say so, yes. But you characteristically see the Penske cars up front at the super speedways. I've got a feeling Roush Fenway is about to start showing some muscle.
I'll tell you, we do picks.
Yeah.
On Sundays of race day, and I've got a pick in mind that's not really going out on a limb, and I don't mind. He's made that change over to RFK.
Keselowski.
Yeah.
Brad Keselowski.
I mean, how do you not think about Brad Keselowski?
Yeah. I mean, he's been so dominant here of late and over the past years. I mean, what do you'd be crazy to not bet against him. The all-time winning leader, active win leader. I think he's at 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be crazy to not put him in your favorites.
He's
your odds-on favorites.
He will be there at the end unless something catches up. All right, we're about to welcome in our first guest of the morning, Nick Sanchez, who is one of the drivers for Rev Racing.
Number 2 car.
Number 2 Rev Racing Chevrolet. That'll be competing later on this afternoon. Hey, come on in and have a seat, Nick. This is live radio, so we're just going to strap you in and jump right off the deep end. This might be scarier than strapping into the car a little while.
Maybe.
How are you this morning?
I'm doing good, and yourself?
We're doing great.
Great.
Excited to have you on board today. Are you excited for the race this afternoon?
Yeah, I'm really looking at Talladega. It's probably the super speedway I enjoy the most, even before Daytona. So I'm really looking forward to this afternoon's race.
Well, tell us about you. Tell us about what got you started in racing and what your career path has been like to get to this point.
Yeah, so I've definitely had a unique career path. I have no family at all that's ever been in racing. I grew up in Miami, Florida. Never even saw a short track, never saw a late model. Really, at the age of 12, I always kind of had a love for cars and, just ATVs, like the regular boy stuff. And at the age of 12, I begged my parents, hey, let me get into racing. And we had no idea how to get into racing or where to start. But, we started Google searching stuff, and we found go-karting. Jumped into that for about 3 years and made the transition to legend cars with Rev Racing. And then it kind of took off from there. Moved from Miami to North Carolina, change of scenery, really changed my life. So big changes. Yeah,
big changes, and then you've kind of climbed the ladder and got to the ARCA Menard series now.
Yeah, definitely like the ARCA series, and it's teaching me a lot.
Yeah.
Outside of the super speedways, which track do you enjoy going to the most?
You know, I really like all the tracks, but I really enjoy the mile and a halves. You know, I feel like my team, you know, our packages are best there, but it allows me, you know, it's really high speed, so your margin of error is very slim. So it allows,
right?
It rewards perfection, and you know you can really move around and you know see where your car is better. So I really enjoy the mile and a halves like Kansas and Charlotte.
That's one thing about the ARCA series. You experience so many different kinds of tracks. You really have to be. I think you got to really be able to adapt in a lot of ways, more so in the ARCA series than you do in a lot of the other top series.
Yeah, you know, definitely the ARCA series. You know, most people, including myself, this is their first time at a super speedway, a mile and a half, or even a road course. So, you know, really learning the ropes against some really good guys that come down from higher series. It's not easy, but it teaches you very quick.
Or in some cases, even dirt.
Yeah, you know, I've still never done dirt, so it's going to be interesting this summer.
Oh, yeah, that will be interesting.
Yep.
But, you know, it's kind of funny. I mean, if you look at it on the Cup Series side, you know, they ran dirt, of course, last week at Bristol, and I was listening to some different interviews from that standpoint that one thing that the drivers are is very adaptable. You learn very quickly, and there were a ton of those guys that had no experience on dirt, and they kind of figured it out. So, I mean, as a driver, I think that's something that you guys are just kind of naturally good at doing, is adapting.
Yeah, well, I heard the same thing. You know, I guess a driver coming from dirt late models, sprint cars, you know, they have something they know, and they know how to drive that. You know, I've never driven any of those, so I'm going to learn how to drive dirt for the first time in a stock car. And in some cases, I think that helps because you don't have any bad habits that you need to change, and you're just learning in the stock car. So I think that helps.
And, you know, Nick may be young enough he doesn't know any better.
Exactly. That's another good thing.
Be the first time hitting dirt from experience. It'll open your eyes up when you dive off into turn one for the first time.
Yeah.
It'll open your eyes up.
Oh. Well, talk about you got on the track yesterday, got a little time practice session. How did practice go? How do you feel about your car coming into this afternoon?
Yeah, you know, we got about 3 or 4 laps just to shake down the cars, make sure there was no leaks, stuff like that. But yeah, you know, the car definitely drives, I feel like, a little better from Daytona. You know, my team put a lot of work in this car, just refining it. You know, we've had, I say, the fastest super speedway car the past 2 super speedway races, so I feel like if we can make it faster, it's going to be good. But yeah, you know, probably the best driving car I've had here, so excited.
Well, outside of Raja, your teammate, do you guys have any other alliances built with any other Chevrolet cars to work with through the race?
Yeah, obviously, first of all, we'll look at the Chevy cars, you know, Daniel Dye, Brett Holmes, and even Greg Van Olst. You know, we want to keep it with the bow ties. And then outside of that, really, it's whoever in the moment that we have to work with. Obviously, ideally, we want to stick with the Chevy cars, and it's going to be our first plan.
How much are you able to transfer over here from what you learned and what you did in Daytona?
I feel like a lot, because this Daytona is, like, to me, worst case scenario, because everything's narrower. You know, a lot tighter radius. Where here, everything's a lot open. So, you know, little things, like if you struggled here in Daytona, you're probably not going to have to worry about it here, and actually it might help. So, to me, this is kind of like the more relaxing race of the two, since you have a lot more room to work with, you know, a lot less margin for error, I feel like.
Right.
So, I feel like we're better off here.
Better off here. Yeah, I think everybody likes Talladega better, right?
Seems like it to me.
Yeah. Bigger, wider, everything.
That's right.
Do you have a specific strategy that you like to? Before we talked a little bit about the fact before you came over and sat down, that one thing about the ARCA series races, there's not a lot of time to kind of cruise around. You kind of have to be on go from the drop of the green flag.
Yeah, you know, I guess without qualifying this year, it's made my job a lot easier. You know, last year we started 22nd, so I had to move to the front. And, you know, like you said, these cars, there's not enough good cars to really run side by side competitively. So really, it's single file bottom dominant. So just starting fourth and being able to file in the line and just log laps makes my job a lot easier, because I don't want to drop to the back. I don't want to kind of ride back there. So I kind of want to ride towards the front and just managing my own race.
That's the mentality I would have. I would not go to the back. I'd stay up front and just cross your fingers and hope for the best.
Yeah.
Really.
Talk about that discrepancy a little bit, and we were talking about this too a little earlier in the ARCA series. There are some big differences in the speed of the cars. the top shelf cars, if you will, and some of the other cars that come in these races. So you will have some that are running so much slower. I would think the closing rates and all that. You have to really be aware and know who you can work with and who you can't.
Yeah, that's a whole another factor that I feel like the other 3 series, the top 3 series, don't really have to worry about. Nothing against ARCA, like you just don't know where some of the cars are going to go, and it makes it interesting and it keeps you on your feet, and you have to know how to manage it. And luckily, I had all of last year to where I kind of know where a certain driver, a certain car is going to put themselves, so I know ahead of time, and that's going to help me out a lot today.
With what he's talking about, you think that it's really evident here that discrepancy at a short track is magnified.
Yeah,
it is very magnified. The only other ARCA event that I've seen on short tracks is at Five Flags and at Fairground Speedway in Nashville. That discrepancy is magnified probably by 50, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100% agree.
Yeah, you can tell. I called an ARCA race down in Mobile a number of years ago.
Mobile,
the little short asphalt short track. I think it was maybe a half-mile track.
Yeah.
And you could tell the difference there. All right, Nick. Today, last lap. Where do you want to be on the last lap? Do you want to be out front leading this thing to try to control it, or do you want to have an opportunity to try to make a pass?
Last year, I probably would have given you a different answer, because last year, I was leading coming off of turn 2, and it still wasn't enough. So I feel like really you can't be in the lead till off of turn 4 with the way these ARCA cars draft. Last year I think I made my move a little too early. I didn't really have an option, but it ended up hurting me. So I feel like last lap, you really want to be in the lead coming off the last corner to really have a shot at it.
Right.
My opinion.
Off the last corner, but not necessarily off of 1 or 2. You kind of
I learned that. I thought I had it. It depends who you have behind you, but in most cases, it's not to your advantage.
Yeah. And it's kind of hard to plan that stuff out. All the plans go out the window once you kind of get into the action, right?
You're right on that.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be exciting. We're looking forward to seeing the cars on the track again this year. It's always fun for the ARCA series, and we talked about this a little bit yesterday. This was before your time, but we used to on the radio station call locally the ARCA races before they were bought by NASCAR, and there were times where you had more caution laps here than you had green flag laps. Wow. And that really seems to have sorted out over the last number of years, where now they're normally very clean races for the most part.
Very.
Yeah, very, very clean racing, at least since I've been in it. So that's always good, knowing that you're not going to tear a lot of stuff up, because we're not cup teams. Most people don't have a fleet of super speedway cars at the shop, so you never want to tear stuff up, and I think we're doing a better job of that.
Well, before we let you go, just want to tell us about your goal. Where do you see yourself in the next few years? What's your goal? Where do you want to get to?
Yeah, obviously, I think my main goal right now is getting in a competitive Xfinity ride for next year, maybe full-time or mostly part-time. But really, that's my main goal, the Xfinity Series. Obviously doing some races there, so trying to get my feet wet there and make my name heard there. And obviously from that, if you do well enough there, you go to Cup. So I don't want to jump the gun too fast, but I really want to win races and championships in the Xfinity Series.
Touching on that Xfinity Series, your first scheduled start is where this year?
I actually made my first start at Phoenix.
That's right. That's right.
You missed something?
I actually missed something.
That's never happened before.
That's rare for me to miss something.
It's like a walking computer. He has all these stats and all these races. Who won, this 1989 race, and he'll spit it out. It's amazing.
That's good.
Yeah, so he doesn't normally miss that. So, all right, so you've had a little bit of Xfinity experience.
Yeah, and I'll definitely get a lot more seat time this summer, and, obviously finalizing the schedule, but I feel like it's going to give me a good opportunity.
Awesome. Well, Nick, listen, I know it's a busy morning for you. You got the races coming up in just about 3.5 hours, but thanks a lot for taking the time to come out and spend a few minutes with us here on live radio, and we appreciate that and wish you the best of luck today.
Of course, thank you guys for having me.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you. That's Nick Sanchez. Rev Racing will be in action this afternoon here at the Talladega Super Speedway in the ARCA Menards Series for the General Tire 200. It's a hybrid show. I'm sitting in for Steve West. We're all NASCAR today and all weekend long. And, of course, it's all presented by Majestic Steel, Oxford Lumber, your Ace Hardware dealer, and Greenway Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram. Next up on the docket this morning, the driver of the number 15 Venturini Motorsports Toyota, Parker Chase, has stepped in with us. Parker, good morning. Thanks for taking a few minutes, man. We appreciate it.
Yeah, morning. Thanks for having me on.
So we got to start with you. you're coming. We were just talking about this a little bit. You are coming out of a sports car background, so I kind of like to give us a little bit of history on you and the sports car and how you made the decision to kind of come stock car racing.
Yeah, so I got my start racing in go-karts on, a road course versus, legends and whatnot. So just with that took me the sports car path growing up. And, I did GT4 stuff, GT3 stuff, and still doing some TCR stuff with Brian Herta, that was just kind of like the natural path of everybody that I grew up with. They were either going open wheel stuff or sports car stuff. And so I went the sports car route. And 2020, I started to get my feet wet and stock car stuff, doing some late models, and then 5 ARCA races last year and some more this year. And
you worked a little bit with Kyle Busch.
Yep.
Talk about that experience. What was that like for you being around, and how much did you kind of soak up and try to learn from him?
Yeah, it was cool. We were teammates in the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona in 2020 with Lexus. So that's kind of how I got my introduction to like in the Toyota world with TRD and whatnot. And he also kind of, helped me, gave me a little bit of guidance there that weekend on if I were to come over to the stock car world where I wanted to go. So that was cool. And then with that relationship right there, we did 2 truck races on road courses last year at the Daytona road course and COTA.
That's very cool. I'll say this: if I was trying to move over into stock car racing, Kyle Busch would be a pretty good guy to advise you. There's no doubt about that.
But with somebody that's competed in Rolex 24, what kind of a mental mindset do you have to do that being an endurance race?
It's completely different than what you have over here because it's 24 hours and there's 4 of us driving. Yep. And for the first 23 hours, you're not even racing. You're just making sure
the car stays together.
That you don't crash. And, you're running 80% of what the car's capable of just to make sure that you're there for the last hour because that's when it really matters.
Right.
So when you come over here and it's, one driver, I mean, the races are still relatively long. But, it's go like the entire time versus just, keeping your equipment underneath you for 23 hours. So, I think the mindset's completely different when you come from endurance racing, like especially like 12 hours, 24 hours, to come into a place where you're by yourself and it's just all out the whole time, really.
Right. What about the adapting to the handling characteristics and the differences in those obviously very different types of cars?
Yeah. In a GT3 car, you have loads of downforce and, the car doesn't really move around as much as it does here, just with the tire and the body roll and the weight and whatnot. So the characteristics and the reactions to your input to the car are completely different from a GT3 car to a stock car.
What about I guess you're talking about the handling characteristics and the how it feels to you as a driver. How quickly did you adapt to that?
I wouldn't say it was quick, but I wouldn't say it was slow. We did a lot of late model running in 2020, which I think really helped me. And then also, doing those road courses, I think it would be a little bit harder if I would have went straight to an oval. But, learning how the car reacts to what you're doing on a road course, which is more familiar to me, I think helped me out quite a bit.
Well, how much did you do in practice yesterday with the cars? How do they feel? And what are your expectations with them today? How they're going to feel here?
It's the same car as Daytona, and it was great at Daytona. So we went out and ran by ourselves into one lap, and it felt fun. So we're just making sure that everything's right and no vibrations and nothing major, and I think we're fine.
Coming from a heavy road course background that you've got in your first start on a super speedway, I guess the right word for me to say is how much of a shock was it to you? The size of the track, the banking, just acclimating yourself to that.
Yes, obviously I'd been to Daytona, but I'd never been on the oval. So, luckily we had a test there. I don't know, a couple weeks before, maybe a month before the race. So we had gone out with the 4 of us in Venturini and ran in a pack during the test. So, it kind of familiarized me with, how it works and running 4 deep with somebody behind you and somebody in front of you, and all you can see is the person in front of you, right? So I think that was a little bit more comforting than just showing up. If Daytona was like we are here today, just showing up and racing pretty much, I'd be a little bit more worried. But since we had that test, it really helped me.
I think the word trust has to come into it when you talk about the fact that you got people inches from beside you, behind you, and all you can see is the guy in front of you if you're not leading. There has to be a lot of trust out there in the guys that you're working with and working around, right?
Yeah, luckily we're rolling off third today, and I mean, at Daytona, I think we started third as well, and we pretty much just sat behind Corey the whole time, and I have plenty of trust in him. So I think having people that you trust, in front of you that aren't going to make mistakes is quite comforting.
What did you learn at Daytona? You came in second at Daytona. What did you learn at Daytona in terms of what kind of moves you think you may want to make, or where you want to be coming down toward the end of this race today?
Obviously not having any super speedway experience going into Daytona, I was really just learning a lot about how the air works. Keeping your gap, or say on the last lap, you want to put a little bit of gap and back up to the person in front of you, or behind you, I say. And it's really just learning all about how the air works and how you can use the air to your advantage, and also to someone else's disadvantage.
Right. I hear, explain this from a driver's standpoint. We hear a lot of times talking about the fact that you're in that situation, you're out in front of a car, and you want to make sure there's not too big of a gap, so you'll drag the brake a little bit or whatnot to try to help you back up a little bit. There's got to be a fine line in how much you can hit on that brake and how much momentum to lose, because it seems like if you cross the line and you lose too much, then you're done. You
get swallowed up. Yeah. Not having a lot of experience doing it. I'm kind of just relying on my spotter telling me, that's good right there. Go for it. So I think with time, I'm sure I'll make mistakes and I'll back up too much, and we'll end up losing 10 spots, 15 spots, whatever it is. But it's just all. I think I have to make the mistake to know how much is too much.
Yeah, that's true.
That's right.
Well, what are your goals? What are you seeing yourself doing over the next number of years? What are you trying to get to, I guess, in this sport?
Yeah, I'm enjoying it over here in the stock car world. So I want to keep going with it and see where it takes me. I think at Daytona, kind of gave us a little bit of a bittersweet feeling there, finishing second. So hopefully we can finish that one spot higher here today.
Yeah. And do you want to try to advance up the ladder and get into the other stock car series, get up on the trucks? I know you ran a little bit of trucks on the road course, so you see Xfinity Cup. Do you have that kind of set in your sights?
Yeah, definitely. I made my first Xfinity start at COTA, March 26th, so about a month ago. And that was a good time. Kind of gave me a taste of what it's like up there, so I want to go for more of that.
Absolutely. Well, how many races are you running in the ARCA series this year?
10.
10. Okay. So getting your second super speedway race in here with Talladega. So after Daytona, you got to feel pretty good about your chances today. I mean, Venturini Toyotas are fast always at this place.
Always are. Yep.
Yeah. Well, hey, Parker, we appreciate you taking a few minutes and coming out and joining us this morning. And hey, wish you the best today, and keep on learning and keep on advancing, my man.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Parker Chase. He is driving the number 15 Toyota for Venturini Motorsports today here at the Talladega Super Speedway. Of course, coming up in the General Tire 200. That'll come your way at noon today. MRN will have the flag-to-flag coverage for you. Grady Sapp sitting in for Steve West this morning. Matt Nicholson, as always, is alongside.
Yes, sir.
And we are live at Talladega doing a little bit of a hybrid Championship Racing Network show this morning for you, as it is all NASCAR all day today.
That's right.
Because it's Talladega. What else are we going to talk about?
I mean, subject of the week. Just keep it simple.
Absolutely. And look, there's enough racing here this weekend to easily fill up a show. We're
no doubt.
set to have Tony Bredinger, who is another driver with Venturini Motorsports, to join us at 9 o'clock. And as you said earlier, she had a little issue yesterday, got knocked into the wall running and practicing a draft. And we'll have Tony Bredinger joining us right now. And we're pleased to have Tony Bredinger here with us. Good morning, Tony. How are you?
Thank you. Good morning. Happy to be here.
Well, now, is this your first time at Talladega?
So I raced here last year with Young's Motorsports, so it's my second time around here.
Second time around here. So how much did you learn in the first trip?
I learned a lot, and I learned a lot at Daytona back in February. So I feel good about going into today. I feel like any mistakes I kind of made at Daytona, I can fix them for today and improve on that. So I think it should be pretty solid.
Awesome. Well, you're in good equipment. We know with Venturini Motorsports, you got a great car underneath you. But you're going to be starting in a backup car today. So talk a little bit about yesterday and what happened with the main car. I know you got into a little bit of a crash yesterday in drafting practice.
Yeah. So in practice, we were all just trying to work together. I mean, I was out there with my teammates, and sometimes things just don't go as planned. But all good. We have the backup car. The guys hustled to get it ready yesterday. Even my teammates pitched in to get it ready, so it was really cool to see that effort from them. But yeah, I think, we're just going to work together again today, and hopefully it goes a little bit better, and one of us gets that win.
Yeah, were you guys running? Just about everybody we've talked to this morning so far kind of said they brought the cars out and they ran about a lap or 2 laps by themselves and they parked them. But you guys were doing drafting practice. So how many laps were you running yesterday, and what were you trying to kind of accomplish with it yesterday?
Yeah, we were just trying to work together. I think we probably only had about 1 lap left. I think that might have even been our last lap out there. Man. So, yeah, Scott kind of hit with some bad luck, but again, we're just trying to work together. It didn't really go as planned, but yeah, we're going to work together again today, and hopefully one of us gets that win.
Well, talk about you. Talk about your career path, how you got to this point, and what got you interested in racing.
Yeah, so I started racing when I was 9 years old in go-karts at Sonoma Raceway, and it was purely just for fun. My dad took me and my twin sister Annie up to the go-kart track, and he didn't really mean anything by it. He wasn't trying to get us into racing. We both just fell in love with it and kind of just went up from there. And yeah, I mean, my end goal is obviously the Cup Series, but yeah, I'm running a full season in ARCA this year, going for the championship and Rookie of the Year, hopefully. So, yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
With your nationality being the Arab American, correct?
Yes.
How has that been for you being the first Arab American in NASCAR to compete?
Yeah, I'm really proud to be able to represent us like that. But I was shocked last year when I found out that I was the first Arab American female in the sport, just because NASCAR's been around for so long. The fact that nobody was able to make it up before me was shocking and also a little bit disappointing. So for me, and in like 5-10 years from now, if there's not more girls coming up, I feel like I haven't done my job. So I really do want to hopefully pave the way for them.
And earlier in the year, the partnership deal that Anheuser-Busch did with the 10 females, if I'm not correct, if I'm correct, how has that been for you to be a part of that with some pretty big names?
Yeah, I'm no longer a part of that program, but it's always great whenever brands step up and support female athletes.
Right.
I mean, I have Hair Club on the car, the Women's Sports Foundation, Pit Viper, and it's great to be a part of brands that believe in us and want to support us and help us get through those ranks.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we've seen over the last number of years more and more female drivers coming into the sport. So you feel like it's kind of turning around, and you're going to see that trend continue and see more and more females get into it and kind of get up at that top echelon of the series?
Yeah, definitely. You know, when I go to the local tracks now and even the go-kart tracks, you see more female girls out there, which is really exciting to see. But I think it's important that they receive that support to move up through the ladder system, because I feel like every step you go up to, it gets a little bit harder and more difficult. And then everyone kind of hits that plateau. Nobody's been in the Cup Series since Danica. So I think it's just about them receiving that support to really make it all the way through up there.
Did you have a role model as you were coming up through the ranks? Did you have somebody that you watched and thought, hey, you know, they can do it. I want to make that point. Wow. That's high.
We're going to start with our media availabilities this morning. We've now been joined by
Wow.
That is loud.
That's really loud. Yeah, I'm sorry about that, but okay. So did you have somebody that you really looked up to?
Yeah, I would say when I was younger, definitely Danica. I mean, she was the most prominent female driver, most known female driver. And then as I got older, I looked up to other drivers, not particularly female. There just hasn't really been that many really in the spotlight like she was. But, you know, hopefully more females can come up and the young girls can look up to us, hopefully.
So who were some of the other drivers that you really liked following and kind of watching what they did?
I would say my favorite was probably Jimmy Johnson when he was in the Cup Series. I really like Jeff Gordon, too, so they're obviously not in it anymore. But, yeah, I feel like right now I don't necessarily look up to any drivers per se, but I look up to how some people carry themselves or how they do certain things. So, yeah.
Running the full series, running all the different kinds of tracks, have you kind of developed an affinity for any one type of track? Do you enjoy racing on more than any other kind?
I would say I haven't been to all that many that are on the schedule this year. Phoenix I'm the most familiar with, so I feel like that's why I'm kind of leaning towards that one. But these tracks, Daytona, Talladega, are always fun too. But yeah, I think I just have a lot to learn on these tracks this year. But Phoenix I'm the most confident with, just because I've been there a few times around now.
Confidence certainly is an important part of it.
Definitely.
No doubt.
So have you run at Daytona, and now your second trip back here. How much do you think you've learned in terms of where you want to be and how you want to manage the race?
Yeah, I've learned a lot for sure. Even yesterday out there in practice, I was the most comfortable I've felt. Sometimes like the first couple laps, like it feels like everything's just happening so fast. And after that, everything slows down. But yesterday I was like, okay, like I feel like my brain is just processing everything so much faster now, and it's just a lot more comfortable for me. So yeah, I feel like every time I get out there on the track on these super speedways, I get a little bit more comfortable with drafting and everything like that. And Daytona, we were pretty conservative. Our goal was just to stay on the L line, stay out of trouble, and we kind of did that until the end. But today, we're going to definitely try to get a little bit racier, try that side drafting. I haven't really messed around with that yet, and just kind of do different stuff like that.
Now, the backup car you're going to be driving today, where was it ran last at?
I believe Derek Griffith ran it at Daytona a couple of years back.
Gotcha.
I believe so.
Gotcha.
When you're running one of these races, how much time do you as a driver have to, I don't know if relax is a good word, but catch your breath, so to speak? I mean, are you able to do that a little bit if it gets single file and you just kind of making laps? Do you have some time to just kind of exhale and not be so
Yeah, I definitely try to remind myself to kind of like relax my hands a little bit, breathe, don't be clenching the wheel, because the biggest thing here is you want to be really smooth.
Yep.
And if you're all like tensed up and all up on the wheel, you're not going to be super smooth. So for me, I just try to remind myself, even when we're, in line, like, okay, be smooth, like don't get too stressed out here or freak out or anything. So I think the biggest thing is just reminding myself, like, stay calm, kind of relax your hands, all that kind of stuff.
Well, it's always exciting here. We've talked about this too something this morning, that at Talladega 76 laps. So it's kind of, you can't just kind of set it in cruise control necessarily for a whole lot of the time, because it's a short race. So you kind of got to be on go from the get-go.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not exactly sure where we're starting yet, if they're going to send us to the back or if I will start fifth. So I think that'll kind of change up our strategy. If I am starting back there, I'll definitely be a little bit more aggressive to get up through there and get where we need to be. But if we're in fifth, I think we're going to probably be pretty laid back until the end of the race and make some moves.
Where do you want to be at the last lap or so? Where do you think the ideal position for you as a driver to try to get the win? Where do you want to be?
Yeah, I think for me, just around my teammates, I think if we have us 4 Venturini cars up there, we can all work together. And I think if we're all up there, it's guaranteed that one of us are going to win. So I think the biggest thing is throughout the race, just making sure we kind of have each other's back, and nobody else out there is going to help us. Nobody wants to see a Venturini car win besides us. So we don't really have any other friends out there, so we have to kind of have each other's backs.
Well, I guess if you don't have any other friends out there, having a number of Venturini cars is pretty good.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not too bad there.
It's like the line out of the movie, instead of being the 3 best friends anybody could have, they're the 4 best friends anybody could have.
No doubt about that. We're looking forward to it. Of course, you got great weather this weekend at Talladega, which it seems like here lately it's been a lot of rain. This part of the world, I told somebody yesterday or the day before that they were talking about the weather, and you're lucky that you're coming this weekend. So for about a month now, we've had rain every single weekend and every single Wednesday. I mean, it just seems like
twice
for a
week,
month,
yeah.
twice a week rain.
Nice. We brought the sun with us.
You brought the sun with you, so
goodness.
we definitely appreciate that. That is something that we have been in need of for a while around here. So what's your routine on race morning? I mean, obviously, you're coming out and doing interviews like this, but what kind of a routine do you have when you get ready to start a race day?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing today is staying hydrated, kind of stretching, making sure I'm not too sore after yesterday. But usually it's pretty chill. I'll talk with my crew chief, my spotter, and try not to have too much going on. I think it's just best to kind of make sure you're hydrated and just refreshed for the race, so you're just 100%.
Now, talk about, I guess, as best you can for someone who would have no idea how it feels when you get into something like that. You hit the wall. You said you heard it down on pit road, heard it when the car hit the wall. So what is that for a driver? What kind of do you feel it impact? What kind of things are you feeling?
It honestly felt like nothing to me. I was like, that was a pretty light hit. Like, it didn't feel too bad. I feel like I've hit harder in late models before. Probably not, but it honestly didn't feel bad. It might have just been me being amped up on the adrenaline, and then I immediately was like, oh my god, was that my fault? I'm so sorry, guys. And I think I was just concerned for the car. Like, I was just like, didn't really pay much attention to anything else that was going on.
I can speak from experience on that, being an accident in dirt late model. When your adrenaline's going like that, you don't feel it.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like anything.
No, it may have been really, really loud standing on pit road. My goodness. Ooh, it was loud.
It was loud.
Very loud.
Well, I'm glad that you were okay with that and everything was good.
Thank
you. So you're running the full ARCA series. Are you concentrating on that only this year, or are you running any other types of racing or any other series at all?
Yeah, I would definitely like to get some late model races in, just in between when I have breaks. I'd love to be racing every weekend. Kind of depends on funding and budget, obviously. Racing's expensive. But yeah, the biggest focus is the ARCA series, and if I can slide some other races in between those weekends, I would.
Any hobbies outside of racing?
Honestly, not really. I feel like my life just revolves around racing. If I'm not out here, I'm usually at like GoPro in Mooresville or on iRacing with my teammates or something. Or if not that, just kind of relaxing and hanging out. So.
What is it with you racers? All you do is race.
Grady, iRacing is very addicting.
Is it?
It is.
Very, very addicting.
Well, I hope it's more rewarding than golf is. I'll tell you that. That's my addiction. Is the golf game. Huh?
It's pride points.
Pride points. Okay.
Pride points, what I call it.
Yeah. Well, Tony, thank you so much for coming out and spending a few minutes with us. I know you want to get some time to kind of relax and get ready for today. So, hey, good luck out there, and hopefully we'll see you in Ruha Mortgage Victory Lane coming up a little later on.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Tony. We appreciate that. All right, we are continuing our coverage here from the Talladega Super Speedway. Much more to come. It is all presented by Majestic Steel, Oxford Lumber, and Greenway Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram on the original Motor Mile in Anniston. It is the Championship Racing Network live from the Talladega Super Speedway. Grady Sapp sitting in for Steve West this morning. Matt Nicholson alongside as we continue our live coverage presented by Majestic Steel. Also Greenway Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram on the original Motor Mile in Anniston, and Oxford Lumber, your Ace Hardware dealer at Oxford, Jacksonville, Talladega, and Roanoke. And Matt, I don't know how much louder he can get out here, dude.
I'm telling you what. I mean, we got bands in the background practicing. We got the media availabilities coming through the speakers out here. Blow dryers going. My goodness.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it has been loud.
Very much so.
Whew, well,
and going to get louder in about an hour.
Yes, it is. The Cup cars will be on the track for the first time here at the Talladega Super Speedway. The next gen cars, and there's probably never been more excitement for qualifying runs than there is here at Talladega today.
No joke.
Looking forward to seeing those cars for the first time on the track, and I mean, I've watched them all season long. So just the fact that we've got them coming up here in a little while to finally get to see them in person.
Right.
So we're going to Big Bill's as soon as we finish this morning.
Let's do it.
We're going to go down and check that out. Coming up in just a few minutes, around 9:20, we're set to be joined by Drew Dollar, who is a former ARCA Series winner here at Talladega Super Speedway, and he's going to be running the General Tire 200 today in the ARCA Series, and he's going to be running over in the NASCAR Xfinity Series this afternoon as well.
That's like a dream day right there. Get to run 2 races in one day. My goodness.
For a racer, is that?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. Better than that?
Maximum track time. That's what you love.
Track time.
That's right.
Yeah. What if the first one's terrible?
And you got the second one to redeem yourself.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Or it could go the other way. The first one could be great, and the second one not so much.
It could be vice versa. Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
So if you have a great first one and a bad second one, which one do you remember after the day?
You're going to remember the bad one more than you remember the good one, if you ask me.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm just kind of curious from a racer's mentality.
Yeah.
Well, see, golf is opposite. You remember the good shots. That's what gets you to go back. You remember the good shots. Oh, yeah, I hit that one shot on 18. It was fantastic. I'm ready to go tomorrow.
Yeah, let's go tomorrow.
For most of the day, you've been like, I ain't playing this anymore. Well, why am I even out here?
Then you'll top that first drive like, son of a gun.
Son of a gun. Here we go. Got a beautiful Chamber of Commerce weather day here at Talladega Super Speedway. Triple header, if you will, today with qualifying for the Cup Series, the General Tire 200 for the ARCA Menard Series at 12, and the Xfinity Series action at 2:30, the Ag Pro 300. This is, in a lot of ways, if you want to come down to the Talladega Super Speedway, you can't pick a better day than a Saturday when it's as jam-packed as it is.
Yeah, I mean, there's some personal friends of ours that actually texted me earlier, said they're on their way. This is their first time ever being in a motorsports event, period.
Really?
And they're going to be down in the ARCA Series garage with credentials coming in with Brett's team.
Wow.
I said, you can't get any better of a first time here.
No.
You really can't, because Wednesday night after our services, it was asking me, it seemed like 100,000 questions. But it was 100,000 questions that I enjoyed answering for them because they're sharing their excitement.
Yeah. Well, I've got some first-timers coming down today. Jamie Lett, who is the PGA professional and director of golf out at Cider Ridge, he and his family are coming for the first time. He loves motocross, and has raced motocross for a good portion of his life. Also, obviously, a great golfer, and has never been to a NASCAR event. So they're coming down for their first time ever at a motorsports event or a NASCAR event, and they're going to be here today for that. So they're going to have a good time.
It's going to be something else.
They've got garage experience passes. They're going to get to go over and check out the cars and the drivers and see all of that. It's just an amazing experience.
Yeah, our bunch does too.
And then they're going to go up in the stands and watch the races. So I've tried to tell him, you don't know what you're about to experience, but you're going to love it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, like you always hear James Band say all the time, cobalt blue skies. You can't ask for any better.
No.
You cannot.
No, you cannot. So talk a little bit about Drew Dollar, who's going to be coming up in just a bit.
Yeah, he's driving the it used to be the former Joe Gibbs car, but it's the KBM 18 car. I think Lynx Capital is his sponsor this weekend.
For the Xfinity Series?
And the ARCA Series.
And the ARCA Series,
yeah,
both. So KBM
He's in the Joe Gibbs 18 car of Xfinity Series, but he's in the KBM 18 car in the ARCA Series.
Okay. So now I didn't realize how much KBM is involved in running some ARCA stuff.
They took it over this year from Joe Gibbs. I think in the ARCA East Series, Sammy Smith runs the East Series races. But I think when Sammy turns 18, I can't remember exactly which month he turns 18 this year. When he gets of legal age to run the bigger tracks, he's going to take the 18 car over full time and run the East and the National Series, if I'm not mistaken.
How about that? So Drew, a guy with a lot of experience here at Talladega and some success in a former winner, so he knows how to get it done. And,
he does.
And we know he's going to have some good wheels underneath him running in a KBM machine here and a Joe Gibbs racing machine.
The thing on Drew's part, I mean, he won that first race in 2020, and that was when nobody was in the stands.
Wow.
There was nobody here that Saturday.
Here to celebrate. So
nobody was here to celebrate it and see it.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, we've come out of the darkness, if you will, with fans back, and that's one of the things that is so good to see here at Talladega.
Because I'll never forget coming in here on that Sunday when they let the 5,000 in the stands. Seeing this infield bare was depressing.
Yeah.
It was depressing. But
it was a different world.
But now seeing it jam-packed, it's just like, whoa.
Yeah,
it's a breath of fresh air.
It feels wonderful.
It does.
It really does. Excited to have it back full of capacity again and have everybody in the world here and piling in. And I mean, I'm loving it driving in the mornings and seeing all the campers and all the fans.
Same here.
And of course, nobody does it better than Talladega.
Absolutely.
The fan experience is second to none.
Absolutely.
I promise you that for the race fans. And they've got so many different things. Of course, tonight, Riley Green's going to be in concert here. And that's going to be the Saturday infield concert. By the way, if you've got a Sunday race ticket, you got it minutes to the concert tonight.
Yep.
And, of course, Riley Green, our own from Jacksonville, Alabama. And he's a big race fan, loves coming here. He grew up coming to camp here at Talladega with his family and loves this place. So,
yep, no doubt. When you're talking about that fan experience, I've been fortunate enough outside of here to be able to attend at Daytona, Homestead, Miami, Atlanta, Richmond, Darlington, Texas, Nashville. But when you look at all of those, you stack all of those up compared to here, at best you could probably take 3 atmospheres at those other tracks and combine them, and they still don't touch the atmosphere here.
I mean, it just the people here at Talladega, they are so fan conscious, and they really put so much effort into making the fans or having a good experience for the fans overall. You know, last night we had the big one on the Boulevard, back for the first time since 2019.
Yeah.
I hate JP, and I missed the barbecue wrestling. I hate we didn't have to do that. Barbecue sauce.
I heard it was interesting.
I bet it was interesting.
I heard it was interesting.
The big one on the Boulevard is always interesting. They had a big fireworks show here last night after that. And then, of course, tonight, Riley Green and the infield concert. They always have a big Saturday night concert. So they do so much for the fans. And, you know, the free camping, so much of it's free around here, and the parking and all. They do a lot of things to make the race weekend enjoyable for the race fan.
Yep.
More so than even what's on the track. And, obviously, we're here for what's on the track, and it doesn't get any better. Chandler Smith. All right, well, come on in, Chandler, and have a seat there.
Drew and Chandler switches.
Okay, all right, that'll work.
Sounds good.
That's fine. We're going to just go live right here. Throw the headphones on. We're ready for you because this was live radio, so we're just doing it. We're winging it here this morning. Chandler, good morning. How are you?
Morning. How are you?
Hey, we're good. We're good. So tell us about you. Tell us about your starting racing and where you're coming from and how you've gotten to this point.
Yeah, there ain't much to know about me, to be honest. No, I'm just kidding. I started racing when I was 4 years old, go-kart stuff. Got out of go-karts, went to quarter midgets actually pretty quickly just because my parents seen their 4-year-old son getting a really bad wreck, and they're like, okay, this is not – there's no seat belts or anything, right? So they put me in quarter midgets. I raced that until I was like 10 years old, won a few championships doing that deal across from USAC and in QMA, I believe is what it was called. And then I moved up to Bandoleros, did the same thing, raced that for about 3 years, 2 to 3 years, won 4 national titles in that deal. Wow. And then moved from there to full-size race cars to racing pro late models and super late models. And that's where I still race super late models to this day, but I started racing that when I was like 13, 12 years old, whatever. And that's where Toyota Racing ended up actually recognizing me when I was 13 years old at the Winchester 400. And they approached me and was like, hey, we want to take you under our wing, develop you, help you out in any way we can. And, so from there they put me in the ARCA car with Venturini part-time. First ever race with them, set track record at the Fairgrounds Nashville Speedway by like 4/10. That track record still holds, and if anyone ever beats it, I will I don't know. I don't see how anybody will ever beat it. It was snowing in practice. Like, it was perfect conditions.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was up there that race. It was cold.
Yeah.
Man, it was cold.
Perfect conditions, right? So anyways, I had a pretty successful ARCA career. I never did anything full-time in ARCA, but I have 9 wins to my credit. And then I've been racing for KBM probably about 3 years. Started part-time in that deal as well. Did 3 or 4 races my first season, like 10 the next one, and it was full-time last year, full-time this year. So kind of a little catch-up.
Yeah, wow, that's a pretty successful career path.
Yeah, I've been blessed to say the least with being able to be in different opportunities, and those opportunities led to being around a lot of great people. That's helped me on the way. So,
well, that's outstanding.
No doubt. But how has it been for you driving for Kyle? Not only as a boss, but having him as like a mentor you can look to.
Yeah, good. A lot of people, when you mention Kyle as a boss or even mention Kyle in general, everyone's always so negative. But for me, I've never had a negative experience with Kyle, and I've been at KBM for like 3 to 4 years now. Like, in general, I've never once in my whole life ever had a negative experience with Kyle. It's always been positive. It's always been like he's always believed in me, I guess you could say, and that's big for myself because from what I hear, like there's been a lot of drivers that's went through there that he's never believed in it, and he told him point blank. So no, me and Kyle have a great relationship. He's an awesome boss, good mentor, and a really, really good friend. I love him to death. I was actually texting him because he's been doing like his social game here lately. He's picked up because anyway, yeah. So that video he posted the other day after he got a 60th win or whatever, I was like, dude, you're such an idiot. I love you to death. I love you to death, though.
Well, I have conversations, and I've got a friend who says, well, I'm not really a Kyle Busch fan, but I'm going to tell you what, if I was starting a NASCAR team and I needed a driver, he'd be a pretty good place to start.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Everybody talks bad about Kyle, but then you bring up, if I had a team, who would you be? And always Kyle's at that top board. It's like, didn't you just say you didn't like Kyle?
Yeah, you like him a lot better if he's driving for you.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, I love Kyle to death. He's honestly a really down-to-earth person. He's amazing, honestly.
Well, that's great. That's great. I'm actually glad to hear that side of it because I think that's a side of it that a lot of people don't really get to.
Yeah, well, social media only, and this goes for anything in general, only recognizes the bad in anything in life in general. They never want to talk about the good in life. So,
no doubt.
I mean, you got to take everything you see on social with a grain of salt. I mean, there's 10% of Kyle could be bad, and the other 90% is good. Just that's realistic. I mean, you can get the 10% Kyle or the 90% Kyle. So
yeah, well, social media is a medium for everybody to pile on anything they can do about being
for sure.
negative. You're right. Nobody cares about the positive stuff.
Could care less.
So talk about the weekend here at Talladega.
I'm excited. I'm here with Sam Hunt Racing, making my Xfinity Series debut with Charge Me on the side. And I'm really excited about my partnership with Charge Me and going forward with these 2 other races in the Xfinity Series. And also, they have 4 races in the Truck Series with me as well. So really excited for that. But switching gears back to here a little bit, it's Talladega to an extent as well, right? Just got to be able to stay out of trouble, and hopefully I can bring this small team a win today for their first time in the organization.
So Charge Me, what is Charge Me? Explain
so
that.
Charge Me is an EV unit, and basically, just in short term, there's no infrastructure for if you're in a Tesla or an electric car and you're driving down whatever this highway is right here and you run out of battery and there's no superchargers around, what are you going to do? You can't tow an EV car because it voids your warranty in Tesla. It damages the battery really bad. You do not want to see a Tesla or anything on a tow hook, right? So that's where Charge Me comes in with their app and stuff. You could just, it's roadside assistance. You click one button, they'll get a roadside assistance person out to you, and they'll give you like a 20-minute charge, enough to where it gives you like 50 miles or so, and you'll get right back on the road. Because there's a lot of charging anxiety and stuff like that. There's a lot of cool things that they have going on, but that's kind of like their biggest thing is roadside assistance right now. But they got a lot of really cool things going on in general right now for them.
Yeah, I'm still in the gasoline engine, so I haven't thought about that much. But I actually noticed yesterday I turned up by the post office in Anniston, and there's a charging port there with 2 or 3 charging ports there for cars.
Yeah, and what's so funny,
see that.
Yeah, and those charging ports, you probably were only like 12 amps or something like that. People are plugged that in, and it takes 3 days for it to even get fully charged. All these charging stations at malls and stuff like that, unless they're not a Tesla supercharger, it's literally nothing. They're just getting the money from the government to put in that because it costs so much money for them to draw that actual power from like a mall or something like that for them to end up actually charging other cars. Like, it costs them way too much money, so they don't put in the actual amperage that's needed for them to charge a vehicle.
Wow.
So that's another thing Charge Me makes actual charging stations too. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot of things that they do. It's really cool.
Yeah, I'm learning a lot this morning.
I am too.
That is a really neat sponsor.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when we first got partnered and stuff and I started learning about it, like me personally, I was never a big electric guy. I was like, I don't like Teslas. I want to be able to hear a car going 200 miles an hour when they drive by me. I was just like, I could never picture us racing at Talladega with electric cars either. I was like, that is not, I'm not. But ever since, like, I've been educated on the fact and everything, I think there's definitely good in it, but there's still the bad in it too, right? But the good outweighs the bad, and no matter what, for them and as a business side, there's no infrastructure for this whole industry that they're in right now. So they're way, way ahead of the ball game and anybody else. And just because they're ahead of the ball game too, like, they're doing their stuff right. Like, everything's really spot on, top of the notch stuff. So I'm really proud to be part of the organization themselves.
Well, that's very cool. Well, let's talk about the Xfinity car. I mean, obviously no practice here yesterday, just qualifying. So you got to make a qualifying run. What did you feel in the car during your qualifying run?
Yeah.
What do you think you got?
Unfortunately, we had some issues in qualifying. I pulled off pit road from early entry into one. It was sputtering. I didn't have any fuel pressure. And then in the center of 1 and 2, it completely cut off and lost fuel pressure again. So, like, I didn't have the greatest call. I didn't even get to build up momentum. Like, we have SMT data and stuff, right? So my up to speed lap coming across the finish line was 4 miles an hour slower than what it was when we came back around to take the checkered. So, like, we would have ended up a lot better than we were, but it's unfortunate. It is what it is.
So you're jumping in this car, you're running. You've obviously had success in the ARCA series. You've ran at the big track. So what is your strategy today with it? What will you try to do, and how you manage the race?
Yeah, so
further back?
I got Chris Lambert in my ear, and he's also my truck spotter, and he's also Denny Hamlin's spotter. That's won 3 Daytona 500s or whatever. And me and Lambert's been together for about 2 to 3 years now as well, and we have a great chemistry, great thing going for us right now. So it's going to be between me and him, honestly, when it comes to calling that a little bit. Alan Hart, my crew chief's going to make great calls on pit road. But for me, myself as a driver, I'm going to be really conservative until probably the last 3/4 of the race. And but with that also being said, if I feel like we have good enough speed to where I can get out of the hornet's nest right now, I'm definitely going to get out of the hornet's nest, because there's only so much I can do and so much I can control, and I don't want something that eats me up as a driver. And I've done a lot better controlling, like, when I go back to the motorhome and I'm just sitting there, I'm like, man, like, reflecting back on the race and I get caught up in someone else's mess. Reflecting back on, like, I couldn't have done anything different. Like, there's nothing really I could have done different. I did everything I could control, and it just still happened. It was just meant to be, you know what I mean? So it takes a lot of, I don't know what the word is, but it takes a lot of something to come to terms of being like, it is what it is. Like, I did everything I could, but I'm a type of driver that's like, if I get caught up in someone else's mess, something like that, it eats me up for a little bit.
And goodness knows there's a good chance of getting caught up in someone else's mess here.
Yeah.
When you come into this style of racing.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah. Any guys that you feel good with working with in the Xfinity series that you'll try to hook up with if you can during the course of the race?
Yeah, so I got my other Toyota teammates over at JGR.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't talked to any of them, but from what I hear is, obviously we're supposed to work together, but watching previous races, they never really worked together. But with that also being said, I think it's going to be more of who will work with me, who won't work with me, finding that out early, and then keeping that in the back of my mind for later on in the stages.
Well, it'll. I'm curious to see how it plays out here today with the Xfinity
I am
series.
too.
Whether it's going to be a calm race or it's going to be kind of one of those where everybody's just kind of going nuts. You know?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this is my first Xfinity series start, but I've been around this sport for a really long time. I feel like today, honestly, we're going to get a mixture of both, if that makes sense a little bit. I feel like it's going to be calm for a bit, and then it's going to get really hectic, and then it'll be a little calm, and it's going to get really hectic. It's just kind of the calling of the beast a little bit right there, but I don't know.
Right.
These cars, like, I was watching the race from last year when Brandon Brown won. It was really hard for people to stay sucked up to each other. So, like, there was a solid half a car length gap between every single person. It was really hard for them. Like, at a truck, if you got that far out, you were going to get spit up and, like, you were going to get chewed up, spit out.
Yeah.
It was going to be bad. So that was interesting to see, because just the aero factor in these cars, there's not much drag compared to a truck. There is no side force. There's no down force. Where a truck, it's lots of side force, lots of down force, a lot of drag. And drafting and side drafting is humongous in that. And this doesn't seem, that still is a factor, but in trucks and stuff, like, that is the key factor, if that makes sense. So that was something that kind of caught my eye, and I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting.
Well, I got to say, sitting here talking to you, you seem very mature. You seem like a guy that's been around the block more than a time or two, and very relaxed and confident in what you do. I mean,
I appreciate that. I'll take that as a compliment.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And we'll look forward to watching you out there today. Hey,
yeah, for sure.
Hey, we appreciate you taking a few minutes and joining us this morning. I know you y'all have a busy schedule with everything, but thanks so much for coming by, and really will look forward to keeping an eye on you and seeing.
Appreciate you guys.
25
good luck.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good luck, man.
That was a cool interview. We are live on the air, so we'll get you worked right in here, and we appreciate that. All right. Corey, good morning. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
We're doing good. As we get you set for ARCA Series X and Venturini Motorsports, we've talked with several of your teammates this morning, so everybody feels pretty confident. Obviously, you got to be pretty confident, having won here last year and then won Daytona earlier this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Venturini Motorsports always brings their best day game to the racetrack, and the Super Speedway program has been lights out for the past couple years. So my Toyota Racing Custom Tools Camry is going to be great today. I'm looking forward to the race.
Yeah. Is this style of racing something that just kind of you took to immediately, or has it kind of been an acquired taste for you, something you've learned over time?
Yeah, I feel like when I first started, Daytona last year was my first race, and it took me kind of a second to catch on a little bit. But, with my teammates kind of helping me out last year, and really just kind of the guys with more experience really trying to teach me the way and teach me how to, get through the gears and everything through the super speedway stuff is definitely tough. But I think I got a lot of good people around me in Venturini Motorsports and Toyota Racing to help me do that.
Do you have this is probably a dumb question because I think it's pretty fluid when you come to these places, but do you have kind of a strategy in mind of where you would like to be positioned on the last lap in order to make the race-winning move? Do you want to be in the lead? Would you rather be back in second or third? And when do you just kind of do it by feel, or how do you strategize that?
Yeah, a little bit of it is by feel. The past 3 Super Speedway races in ARCA have actually been pretty tame, so I've always kind of wanted to be in the lead and kind of be able to control the race, control the pace. But, if there was, a situation today where it kind of got out of control and I feel like I was going to get caught up in a wreck or just not be in a position to win the race, I would definitely maybe want to drop back at that point and just kind of avoid the wreck, let them wreck, and then, have that track position on the last lap. But it's always good to be leading in these cars because it's very, very hard to pass with this Super Speedway package. So, as I mentioned, Venturini Motorsports brings really fast cameras to the racetrack, so being out front's never a bad thing.
Now, out of our guests today, he was the only person that we've had that had competed at Atlanta earlier this year with the newly reconfigured Atlanta. 2 things on that. 1, how was Atlanta versus compared to what you've done for Daytona and Talladega, being a super speedway style package? 2, how cool was it for you to win that truck race in your home state?
Yeah, it was definitely an experience. Everyone going into that race had really no idea what they were going to, do mentally to approach that race and how to race the racetrack. But luckily we got like a 15-minute practice in, and that kind of gave us a feel for it. And at that point we knew it was going to be wide open, and we're going to pack race basically. So, I think, the best thing going into that race is to bring our super speedway package, and that's what we did, and it really seemed to work out. We had 3 KBM trucks in the front at the very end of that race, and for me, I got the good end of the stick there, so I ended up winning the race. So that's my home track. I grew up in Marietta, Georgia, right outside of Atlanta Motor Speedway in Atlanta, the city. So just to be able to win that race and go there and compete, to begin with is amazing, but to win the race is so special to me, and it's definitely something I'll never forget.
We were talking with Chandler Smith a little bit ago, and we're talking about Kyle a little bit and what it's like being involved with KBM, and he was talking about the fact that it's really an amazing experience, and that Kyle is in his words an amazing guy to work for. What's it like for you with being around KBM some? Yeah,
it's going into KBM last year, I ran 3 races, and going into those 3 starts, I never had really talked to Kyle a whole lot, but as soon as I had signed for the 15 races this year, I've really gotten a lot of help from Kyle. Anytime I need it, I can send him a text message, and he'll get back to me right away with, anything that's very helpful. So, I had a pit stop mishap at Daytona, and that's what kind of took me out of that race. And he was the first one to come tell me and kind of help me out. So, to have a supportive, owner that's been through so much in NASCAR, and he's a legend in the sport, for him to still be, very down to earth and helping, me through the steps of what he went through, 15, 20 years ago is extremely special to me. So, definitely a little bit intimidating at first to drive for him, but I feel like he's really come around to me, and it's been awesome so far.
Talk about you. We've done this with a lot of the drivers this morning, but talk about you and your career path. Where you said you, of course, grew up just outside of Atlanta, but talk about getting into racing and what your interests were and what the path has been like for you to get to this point and this level.
Yeah, as I mentioned, I grew up in Marietta, Georgia. When I was really, really little, my dad used to race the Legends cars at the Lanier Motor Speedway. And for my 5th birthday, he surprised me with a quarter midget. So we started racing those around the Southeast. And I actually raced those for, I want to say 8 years. So I was in those for a long time. And then I moved up to Bandoleros and Legends cars at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. So I raced there for 3 or 4 years. And that's really kind of where I feel like I learned how to race, especially in the Legends car era in my career. That's when I really learned how to drive race cars and control and get to the gears and so on and so forth. So from that point, I went to pro late models and super late models. I competed in a lot of big races and super late models, the Snowball Derby several times, and a lot of big races on the East Coast. So, and then 3 years ago, I made my first move into ARCA, and now we're still racing ARCA to this day and some truck series.
Well, so kind of gradually moving up. The ARCA series has been good for you. Obviously, a lot of success in the ARCA series. And Venturini Motorsports, what did you do in terms of practice yesterday? Most everybody we've talked to really didn't do a whole lot in terms of practice. Maybe took the car out for a lap or so. What about you?
Yeah, I think, the ARCA practice is really just to make sure that our heights are okay. And, there's a lot of, things that could go wrong with those ARCA cars. So really just for the other guys to make sure that their stuff is secure and nothing's going to, get out of control on the very start of the race. So just make sure the loose bolts are tight and everything like that. So we're all good there. I think we're going to be good for the race today, starting second. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Starting second, and will you be content to just kind of ride around for a while, or do you really want to put the thing up at the top spot and control it all day?
Yeah, I definitely want to control the race for sure, but, like I briefly mentioned earlier, if it's out of control, I don't want to be caught up in that. So we'll see how it all rolls out. I think it's just going to be kind of played by ear and played by, what's going on around me. But, nonetheless, I'm going to try to be there at the end and win the race today.
Do you think that ARCA-wise, most everybody we've talked to from ARCA perspective kind of thinks it'll be a pretty calm ARCA race today? And they say a lot of that has to do with the differences in the cars. There are some cars that are really fast. There are some cars that are not as fast, and that it generally tends to be kind of calm a little bit. And it seems calmer than it used to be.
Yeah, as you mentioned, there's a huge range from the best cars to the worst cars. So that seems to really spread the field out. And when it's all said and done, there's generally 10 to 15 cars in the front of the pack that are single file and just trying to kind of, bide their time and get to the front if they can. But, when you're all single file like that, it's really tough to pass with this package. So, as I mentioned, I really want to control the race. But, there's always those races where they just kind of get out of control, whether it's a short track, road course, dirt track, could be anything in ARCA, So in my 3 past Super Speedway starts, it's all been pretty calm. So my mindset going into the race is definitely that it will be calm, but you really just never know.
Yeah, well, you never do. It's just all fluid when you come to these places. Do you have you run so many different kinds of track in ARCA? Do you have a favorite track or a favorite style of track that you enjoy running maybe more than others?
Yeah, last year we had success on really all types of racetracks, so I really enjoyed just the ARCA schedule in general. But some of my favorite racetracks were definitely Winchester in Indiana. That's a short track that I've really loved. It's super high banks. It's a very racy racetrack, if you will. You can really race side by side around there, and I feel like it produces a really good race every time you go. So I've been there a handful of times, and it's always been a good experience for me. But I really enjoyed Watkins Glen last year. That was really my first road course experience in a stock car, and that was a blast for me to be able to go up in New York and kind of experience that for the first time and be on that Watkins Glen famous racetrack up there. So really just, I don't know if I could pinpoint a certain racetrack that I definitely like the most, but Winchester and Watkins Glen would definitely be up there.
Well, that's interesting. Did it take you long to adapt to the road course in the stock car?
Yeah, it really did. Luckily for me with Toyota Racing, I get to have a lot of sim time with them and be able to kind of, almost, I guess simulate per se, everything that I'm going to do throughout the weekend. So that really, I feel like, gave me a heads up on the field and heads up on what the racing is going to be like. So without that, I think I would have struggled a lot more than I did. But it definitely took me at least half to 3/4 of the race for the first time to really adapt to the racetrack. But, like I mentioned earlier, I kind of raced a lot of super late models around the East Coast. So there's a good 3 or 4 tracks that I raced last year that I mentioned a super late model. I think that also helped me a lot.
No substitute for experience, is there?
Absolutely not. That's golden.
Yeah.
Experience is golden for sure.
Well, Corey, listen, we appreciate you taking a few minutes on short notice to come by and talk to us, and I know we're going to see you up front all day today, and hopefully everything holds together with the car, and maybe you can get another win here at Talladega. That's always a good thing to have in the belt, right?
I appreciate it. Well, thanks for having me on today.
Hey, thank you, Corey Heim. He is with Toyota Racing and Venturini Motorsports today here at Talladega, and we appreciate you being here this morning, and we appreciate that. Thanks, Corey. All right, we are getting ready to get things wrapped up here because we got a handoff to MRN coming up at the top of the hour, and we are going to hand off to them and get ready to roll with qualifying coverage coming up. And thank you very much. Appreciate that.
As the saying goes, time flies when you're having fun.
It really does.
Fast show.
It has been a fast show. We've had a lot. It's been action packed. We've had folks here all morning. By the way, I just got a little email from RB. Wasn't just to me, but I mean it was. We're going to have. They've added a VIP, an additional VIP here tomorrow.
I think you and I need to get with RB about talking to that gentleman.
I believe you are absolutely right. It'd be great if we could somehow nail that down because one Mr. Brian Harson, Coach Brian Harson from the Auburn Tigers will be here tomorrow. He'll be in the media center at 11:40 in the morning.
See, a lot of people don't realize Coach Harson, he is a really big motorsports fan.
He is he was really into drag racing. He was a big drag racing fan. He and his father drag raced. I think he has some experience drag racing and worked on cars and did all of that in his background.
I know doggone it, I'm wanting to say last October. I think it's what it was. There was a big challenge race that was had at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the autonomous car challenge. I think it's what it was called. There were several teams, not only from universities, but from around the world. They came to compete, and Auburn University had a car that they put in the race. So Coach Harson was up there rooting the team on, cheering for the team, and he had it on his social media. He was blasting it out there.
Really?
And there was an article that was released that Coach Harson was a really big motorsports fan.
Wow. Yeah, I think he's going to love this.
I think he's about to be in for a pleasant surprise here.
Listen, it's been a blast this morning. All right, let's talk what we got today. We've got, again, we're going to hand off to MRN, top of the hour, Cup Series qualifying. First on the docket today, setting the field for the Geico 500 tomorrow. Then right after that, it is the General Tire 200 for the ARCA Menards Series. That comes your way at 12 noon today from MRN. And then 2:30 this afternoon, it is the Ag Pro 300 for the NASCAR Xfinity Series here at the Talladega Super Speedway. All right, who do you like in the ARCA Menards Series?
Oh, well, it's really hard to bet against Venturini cars.
Yeah.
They're so dominant at super speedways. But it's a sentimental pick, man. You know I got to go with the family. I got to go with Brett, man. He's communicating with him and talking to him. The simple way to say it is he's out for blood.
Yeah.
Because that one last year, he was so close to getting it last year, and then the last lap happened, and he ended up finishing fifth. But he's out for blood, and there's a different look in his eye this weekend. It is a good look.
Yeah, he is due to win here. He's just so due to win here. That's a great pick.
Very due.
The guy that was just here with us, Corey Heim, might not be a bad pick either in Venturini Motorsports.
Yep.
He's done it before. One Daytona, one here last year, one at Daytona earlier this year. So I might kind of stack my chips over as far as I'm a betting man. I might stack my chips over there.
Yeah.
How about this afternoon NASCAR Xfinity Series? Anybody that you feel good with? Probably Ty Gibbs wouldn't be a bad pick.
Ty Gibbs wouldn't be a bad pick. I mean, you could legitimately say any of the three RCR cars is a straight up threat.
How big would it be if Jeffrey Earnhardt wins it in a 3?
Brian and Russell may have to rebuild the stands before tomorrow if that happens.
That would be cool.
But
he's on the pole.
Yeah, and but personally, I'm not going to look past the junior motorsports cars, especially Noah Gregson.
Yeah, they're going to be strong. There's a lot of strong cars. It's going to be a great day of racing here at Talladega. You ain't got your tickets, you still got time. Come on down and buy those garage experience passes and come on down and enjoy an unbelievable experience here at Talladega Super Speedway. We want to see you down here. That's going to do it for us today. We're going to get out of here. Again, want to thank all of our sponsors for presenting the coverage this weekend. Majestic Steel, Greenway, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram in Anniston and Oxford Lumber, your Ace Hardware dealer in Oxford, Jacksonville, Talladega, and Roanoke. Matt, it's been a pleasure.
I enjoyed it, man. Got one more day to go tomorrow.
One more to go tomorrow here at Talladega. That's it for us today. Enjoy the races.
This has been a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.